Class खत्म हुई नहीं है? Is over or not? Still going on?
Sir, it just got over. People must be joining now.
Class of I think concept.
So yes, sir, COMT, Concepts of Management.
Today I am going to discuss about a model which is very helpful in understanding the microeconomy. That model is known as circular flow of economic activity. Now this model, and a model is an abstraction of reality. When we how an economy functions is very complex. So when we try to depict the functioning of economy by assuming certain things, so we cannot capture economy and its functioning in all its intricacies. So that is why we abstract away. We try to depict the functioning by assuming certain things. So circular flow of economic activity is this diagram. The word circular, why it is used circular, I will explain to you. Although the diagram may not be sketched in circular way, is that it enables us to appreciate how various actors, various components in the economy, they interact, and in other words, how they affect and how they get affected, and how there is a type of interdependence in the economy on account of this. And further, how various activities in economy are linked. A certain activity is performed, then in lieu of the certain performance of certain activity, certain thing is provided, which we call the counter flow. So let us go through this, and then I'll come back to this point to explain it further. Now we assume that in an economy that certain assumptions we make it to start with. In this economy, let us say that there are two sectors or actors. One is called household, another is called firm. Household sector is that sector, people like you and me, who provide their factor services. For example, I am also in factors market. I am, offering my services in the form of teaching and getting paid for that. Similarly, a worker may offer services in the market and gets wages for that. So let us assume that in this economy there are two sectors and there is no saving. In this economy there is no government, and in this economy there is no foreign trade. We will do away with this condition one by one. So firm is that is an entity which uses the services of household to transform input into output, or business organization. Now, when the household provides services in factors market, so to the businesses utilize these services, and utilizing these services mean that the businesses use the services to transform into output. It results in goods, production of goods and services, which are supplied to the household. Now, household does not provide these services free, rather, household sector receives money, payment in the form of rent, wages, interest, and profit. This is called the payment to the factor for rendering the services. So, of money flows, that is the payment is made by the businesses to the household, and household use this to buy the goods and services. And when they buy the good, they pay for this thing, and the money flows back. So you see that there is a flow and counter flow. Household is providing services to businesses. Businesses utilizes these services to convert goods it into goods and services, and which are naturally supplied. And in lieu of this thing, to compensate for the provision of these services, businesses provide payment to the factors of production, which goes to household, and household is spent. Now, in this diagram, we are assuming that the household, whatever income they are receiving it, they are spending entire amount. There is no saving. But it is not a realistic assumption. A part of, for example, may be saved by the, for example, 100 rupees received. So not the entire amount will be spent. Part may be saved. So saving is also. Now this saving can be put under a mattress or can flow into the financial market. Or financial market means that all those institutions which try to mop up the saving of the household and provide a return for that. May be bank, it may be mutual fund or business even firm which raises funds from the public. So this diagram helps us that whenever that is why the word circular is there. Circular means that there is flow and counter flow for that. It is not that free of cost. Something or if unilateral, you provide services, but you do not receive a payment. Now let us introduce that part also in the diagram, and we also have not assume that there is no government, so we will do away with this thing. We will also do away with this thing, and no economy lives in isolation. So there is always a linkage with the foreign sector. Let me modify this thing. Not foreign trade, foreign sector. Through export and import, and through other flows which are there in the economy. So there is a linkage also. So now in this diagram, and please keep in mind that we have not drawn all the flows and counter flows. That can be done because that will make the diagram very, very complex. That is why, for instance, here, what has been done here that, the firm is there, the how the market for factor production is there, the household is there. So household, so the what the household provide, they provide factor services to firm, and firm receive the services. And because of that, that here you see that, so saving, we have introducing savings. A part of the income received by household goes to financial market, maybe invested in a equity share, mutual fund, like that. But it is not that. So there will be a counter flow also from this in the form of returns which they get it. But we have not been sketched to that. Similarly, not that entire amount is available for saving. A part also goes to taxes in the form of, let us say, tax is 20%. So 20% of that will, and the remaining amount will be available. That is why government also comes in the picture. And we haven't introduced the foreign sector, but that sector will also be, for example, businesses. The receive the revenue not only, but they also, for example, if you introduce here a foreign sector, So export and import, for example, export. And for this, when then there is a, they receive payment for that. So there will be another, sector, another actor which will be involved. So that is why you see that. So all these are what is there are linkages available in the, and here, for example, government is there. Government also make purchases in expenditure from the for the goods and services. Now, so you can understand that the financial market, the market for factors, that is the labor market, you can say broadly speaking. Labor, do not think that physical labor. Government is there, farm, household, farm. These are the main, and we have not introduced here the. So because of this, what is happening is that a kind of interdependence is created. For example, if government put too much taxes on the household, less money will be available. So these they will make less money will be available for saving, and they will less money will be available for consumption for goods. Uh, Similarly, so the when saving less savings available from to for the businesses, because businesses what they do that they go to the market for raising funds. So there may be here that they are raising fund, and then the investment and from here you see that there is a here that when the firms receive the saving, so they make investment in the good for production of goods and services also. So that is why investment, real investment, takes place on account of this. So we can see here that this diagram is helpful in understanding. So let me repeat what I am saying. What I was trying to explain to you that if we can imagine, we can visualize economy as having made of various components. These components broadly are household sector, the firm which utilizes the services of households for producing goods and services. Then there is a government which put taxes, and also I haven't introduced here subsidies. Government also provide some counter, this unilateral, so we haven't introduced here that part also. But it will be not that there will be household will when they receive certain kind of income guarantee or cash transfer or something, they will also provide it some counter activity. So that is called the unilateral, the transfer payments they are called. So that can also be introduced there, but I have skipped that. So because of this, we see that there is a flow and counter flow. So and that is why each sector becomes very important. For instance, an economy where the national income consists of the foreign trade mostly, like East Asian economies, more than 40-50% of their national income come from this. So for example, export. For example, if there is a recession, there is a low demand in foreign market, their revenue will go down. And similarly, if there is a recession in domestic market, it can be made up by these. So that is why a kind of interdependence occurs on account of this thing. And that is why there is a transmission of one effect as well as diffusion is also possible. Because of this. So the economy is, the interlinked, and this is a very, simplistic picture of the economy to visualize that. And if you can also say that this is anatomy of the economy. What are these? Now, if we bring this all these thing in very simple diagram, so this is explained there. Not everything is given. So, like these are the main sector. Household sector provides factor services, and they receive income. These are the income which they receive it, money flow. and then they use it for purchase of goods and services. Then there is the government which put taxes on the household, and there is government receives and government use this thing for the purposes, for maybe for business, setting up business enterprises or something like. Similarly, a part of saving goes in financial market is available for investment for businesses. And here it is, this part is the personal consumption, that is a part of the income is used by, you know, the, if you add all these things, it will become total income. The income received, a part is tax, a part is after that, a part whatever is left is saving. So for example, income is 100, tax is 20%, so 1 minus, so you can say 0.8, so 80 rupees will be available after taxes, and let us say 20 rupees is saved after it. So that is why all these, make up the income, and similarly, the part of the not only domestic consumption, this is a consumption, but not only that, but the household may also import something for personal consumption. So that will be total consumption, domestic consumption and for goods of foreign consumption, that is the goods produced by foreigners. So we can make it, this diagram to understand that how these sectors like, the household, government, financial market, and other countries, that is the part, they are interlinked and they interact with it. For instance, in an economy where export is equal to import, for example, here, there will be no balance of problem, okay, current account especially. In economy where the government expenditure is equal to tax, there will be a balanced budget, but it is not the case. Government's expenditure is more than tax or revenue which you receive it. So therefore, deficit finance. So, the point here is that there are situations where the flows and counter flows may not balance in that way, and that is why the economy may not function smoothly. For instance, if the household is not spending much money on the goods and services, inventories of the businesses will pile up because they think that they may go out of job, so they may not spend money. Similarly, if it's a situation government has where demand is less, government has to spend a lot of money on this, so as to revive that. And moreover, the financial market, where the saving of the household is, channeled and made available for investment purposes, and businesses use the savings of the household and they issue certificates for that, maybe equity, maybe bond. It provides partial ownership to the firm, and they use that money for real investment purposes like in machinery, equipment, building, and so on. So if personal consumption is, the demand is less, businesses may be reluctant to make fresh investment. And that because of this interlinkages, what happens is the export and import foreign trade sector. So anything which happens in other countries has an echo on, has an effect on the domestic economy. So it is said that if America sneezes, Europe catches cold. So in that sense, that because the US is the largest economy in the world, and which may act as a locomotive, as a driver for growth for other countries, especially those countries which are dependent more on foreign trade, where the export component is very high there in the contribution. So they get affected more. India, for example, India also gets affected because of that. But since our dependence on the foreign trade sector is less, therefore the effect of financial crisis and other, which is felt less severe by our country. But we are not living in isolation. So that is why this diagram helps to visualize what are the various the components and how they interact, And if everything, is in balance, that I gave some example, the export and then economy, but economies are always in disequilibrium. It is not that everything is equal, and because that the interaction of various actors, human being, like the business, the household are human beings, and the government which take decision, they are also the political decision, not only pure economic decisions that are. So many things are there, that we cannot visualize in terms of only, but other factors they also cause. But it is simplified picture of the economy. But yet it is very illuminating. The more you think about this thing, the more you will understand how the. So this is the starting point to understand how the macroeconomy functions and look like. So if you have any question, you can ask before I proceed further. And you let us go back to this thing, the first slide which I showed to you. This was the when I started my discussion. Okay, I say we started this. So flow around a circle. Circle, that sometimes diagram is not made any circle way. Circle means that there is a flow and counter flow. That if there are two, so it will be that like household, if this sum is provided, there will be a counter flow from here. So from here another flow, like here household services are provided, and here in this. So that is why this terminology is there. So, and economic interdependence, businesses, household, and government and financial, they all have to work in tandem, work in order for a smooth functioning of the economy. It is not that businesses are making huge investment, but households are not spending money. Government is putting too much taxes on, and naturally that may be counterproductive. They all have to work in tandem and for a smooth functioning of. And the if it is not the case, then it may happen that there might be frictions. Friction, do not think in that way, that conflict. Frictions in the, I'm talking about smooth in terms of smoothness of the economy, that is the functioning of economy without, as it should operate. So that is why, and in a world, a globalized world, we are not segmented, we are integrated. And some of the indicators of integration is what is the component of foreign trade sector, how much export and import, what is the component of the flow of investment, how much money flows in and flows out, like that. And other indicators are also there, like, but they are not incorporated here, like supply, how much labor flows out of, the migration of labor, and other indicators also there. And like, so it is this diagram, it brings out this interdependence and how one sector of the economy and the other sector of the economy, they function. And for a smooth operation of business, household sector has to spend money on the goods and services. Otherwise, unsold goods will not act as incentive for businesses to make further production, and further production means more income. More income means more spending by the household, and further, and so on. So the virtuous cycle may not be created because of that. Now let us go further. If you do not have any question, or if you have question, I can answer in that. I will introduce the concept of national income today. And I'll explain to you what is national income. That in the beginning of my talk, I pointed out that one of the major objectives of any nation is to attain to achieve high and high level of economic growth or output. Growth or use. It should be right, should increase. Now, this increase in output, sustained increase in output is also known as economic growth, is measured by a concept which is known as national income. I did just pointed out the income of the household. Similarly, the income of a nation, how we measure how much income is generated. Now, this concept of national income is a revolutionary concept. Like some important inventions in like fire and wheel. You know it that because of the invention of fire and wheel, civilization made a rapid progress. In similar vein, the concept of national income is also a revolutionary concept. You know that until the development of the measurement of concept of national income, scientific method I'm talking about, we did not have any measure to understand the functioning of the economy, whether how a macroeconomy is performing. We did not have. Only some crude measures were available like that. Like you may recall that Dadabhai Naoroji has written a book on poverty and un-British rule in India, and like where he measured that how the Britishers plundered wealth of our country and like that. But all those measures were, very crude. The concept of national income scientific method was developed in early 1930s. The credit goes to Simon Kuznets, who proposed methods to Nobel Prize winner in economics, Simon Kuznets. How can we measure the national output, income, or expenditure? I'm using this word interchangeably. That will become clear to you later. And Simon, thanks to Simon Kuznets, now we have a method. We have how to calculate national income. Although the refinement is always there, no method is perfect in the beginning. And for your information, Simon Kuznets was also the thesis advisor of Maverick Subramanian Swamy. The Subramanian Swamy also taught at Harvard and he did his PhD. So Kuznets was also one of the thesis advisor of. So because it had a backdrop at that time, because there some of you may be knowing the history that depression of 1930s, when the economy was under a prolonged period of low demand, high unemployment, and there was a kind of stagnation in the economy lasting for 3 decades. So it was very difficult to understand how understand the functioning of the economy and revive the economy. So unless we know it, how can know about the health of the economy? Revival will be difficult. So that is why some people like Kenny Balding has said that after fire and the national income and is one of the most revolutionary ideas in the annals of civilization. So what I am going to do next is to take up a definition of national income and explain to you what is national included and what is not included in national income. So national income is defined as aggregate money value of annual flow of final goods and services produced in a country in a year. Now there are millions of goods and services which are put into airplanes from other lines. So what is done here is that we take aggregate money value, that is we multiplied by the quantity produced, and that is why so it is kind of aggregation of all those goods and services which are produced from, because once you apply the yardstick of money, then whatever is the unit of measurement, we can have an aggregate money. Then this is concept is a flow concept. It is measured over certain period, certain, and the wealth may have, like in economics, we give example of certain things like water in reservoir is a stock concept, water in river is a flow concept, distance from Aligarh to Delhi is a stock concept, and the speed at which you travel is a flow concept. So that is why national income is measured usually during a particular period, a specific period, that tells us what has been the income or of either final goods and services. Final means car. There are various components like tire is there and various other. The value of the car will include all value of all the components which have been used in the manufacturing of car. So if you take the value of car, it will include this. But if you take the value of tire when it was produced and another component, then it will lead to double counting, and that will, inflate the value. That is why we avoid it. We take into account the final good value. And if it is not possible, then we take the value addition. For example, what are the addition in value at various stages of production? So let me elaborate it further. For instance, I said that national assume that in economy, this is hamburger, you can write Indian, okay? रोटी लिख लीजिए, पराठा लिख लीजिए. So price multiplies this quantity or price. So if you multiply by this, you arrive at GDP of 1,000. Similarly, that is why the market value of all goods, final goods and services. So now here, please remember one thing, that here in the oil may be used, and other thing, maybe potato may be used, and like that. But there are certain adjustments made also. So point here is limited here, that we take the final value of goods and services in the economy. So we assume that there are three goods which are produced, and then arrive at. So this is what the concept which I am explaining is a flow concept.
Sir?
Person's wealth is wealth.
Excuse me, sir.
A person saving out of current, income is a flow concept. The new, that is why the word new is very important. For example, in national income, when it is a flow concept, we exclude all those used product, old product. We do not include anything which was produced in not 2022, but earlier 2021 or 2020. We do not include that. We only include new production, because it was calculated when it was produced in that year. Although commission for that, for example, if you are selling a second-hand car, that has the agent which will receive the commission or the income out of selling of that will be, because that has been generated out of the current economic activities. So some of these things are there. So that is why it measures only value of new production, excludes new, and also all the paper transactions, they are not included. Like sale of bond, they are not included, because they are just, for example, if you include income either you the part of income which is goes for consumption or saving which is used for buying a bond. If you have taken into account income, how this is divided will not matter. So that is why all those, the paper transactions, they are just use of the income which has been generated in the economy. So they are excluded from national income. And similarly, all the illegal activities, they are also, because there we have no way to know about the illegal activities, underground economy which operates. So subterranean, and that is a very developed country like USA. Almost one-fourth of more than one-fourth of national income is unaccounted. So that is why when people talk about India, that they will get rid of underground economy, probably they are not aware of, or they are aware of, they do not know the pitfall gains. What is pitfall gains? Can you explain who is this? Let me see. Okay, I'll address this thing. What is in mind? So the household production are also not, services of housewives are not included. For example, if I wash my car, if I perform certain activities, they are not included. Only those activities which are sold in a market for a price. I said that there is a market for house where the household offer their services. Now, that may not be physical, like you go to Kilanagar and you stand there, the physical labor. Maybe through Naukri.com, you are connected, you are offering your services in labor market, in how, for you, and those who willing, they will pick you up, So that is why only of value of final goods and services are included, not the intermediate. So in other words, as I already explained, you will include the value of bread, not the value of wheat and cars, because the value of bread include the wheat and other things. We will include the value of car, not the steel or other components. So that is why we look at. So, and if there is a problem, then we only look at the value added. For instance, farmer sells cotton for 100, then cotton is processed into thread and sold for 130. Then it is thread is made of into cloth, then for 200, and then finally it is sold for 300. So you see that it was, the value was 130, so value addition is 30. It was sold at 200, so value addition is 70 here. Similarly, and like this. So you can understand that the value addition at each stages. So either we take into account the value addition or only take the value of final goods and services. Like that. So let me repeat what I said till now. I said that national income is the money value of all final goods and services produced in an economy. So it means that we multiply by the market price of goods with the quantity produced, and we we exclude intermediate goods, and we take into account only value the new production. But we do not include the services of housewives. Illegal activities are not included because they are unofficial. So we can have estimate of, but that is not included. The gambling and other things, they are also not included. The illegal activities are not included. And services of housewives are not, for example, so there is a joke about this thing that let us say that a maid was employed, maid servant is employed in a house for performing the services. She is paid, and that will be included in the national income. But let us say a fortunate or unfortunate stroke of luck, the house owner marries the maid servant, and now she will become wife of the house owner. But she will continue to perform the same services, but her services will not be included in national income. That is why in Parliament also sometimes there was a demand that the services of housewives should be included. But you know that there is a logic behind why these services are not included. The reason is simply that national income try to understand the change, and given the socio-economic milieu of our country, it will not be the case in near future that all the household activities are performed by the other gender in the economy, and there will be complete change in national income calculation like that. So that is why the demand there are services are worthless and therefore not included. And moreover, please keep in mind when I discuss in my last part that national income only includes the materialistic goods, not there are, because not that everything which is measured in terms of money is of value, utility. There are something beyond that also. So you have any question regarding this, you can ask before I close, and we'll continue tomorrow with this discussion.
So when we are talking about the price, we are considering the cost price or selling price.
So I'll stop and please clarify the pitfall gain. I think that this is capital gain are you talking about, or windfall gain you are talking about? I do not know exactly. So if you have that, please modify your question and ask the question in next class.
Okay.